Hello, welcome back. Thank you for clicking. I'm going to get on with this straight away because there's quite a bit to cover and I don't want to bore you. So, the US has amassed at least 7, but this could be up to 14 of its B-2 stealth bombers, along with 7 C-17 transporters and possibly up to 15 air-to-air refueling planes to the UK-owned island of Diego Garcia. The US President Donald Trump said this week every shot fired by the Houthis in Yemen, which is backed by Iran, the Iranians are going to be held responsible for and will face dire consequences unless attacks stop. Now, given the military build-up, they're either going to bomb the Houthis back to the Stone Age, or they're preparing to go for Iran's uranium enrichment facilities, most of which are well below the ground. I believe the deepest one is around 80 metres deep. If memory serves me correctly, I can't remember the actual bunker buster, but it will penetrate, has a maximum penetration of about 60 metres. So unless you're going to pepper the area, and I mean absolutely pepper the area with bunker busters, where you're going to try and take out the exits and seal it off, it's going to be very difficult to actually destroy it unless you up the game with something big. I don't actually want to envision using something big on a uranium enrichment facility, especially if it's of the fusion kind. Anyway, Russia looks to be getting ready for a big offensive along the 1,000-mile stretch of the Ukrainian front line. Putin's actually been ramping up attacks over this week since the last peace talks. In fact, night on night, the nightly drone attacks have been increasing, hitting civilian targets, including a children's hospital and energy facilities. Obviously, Ukraine have been firing back. I believe they managed to hit one of Russia's biggest weapons depots, which went with quite a bang. Else have we got? So, yes. The EU has told all its citizens to be prepared. All EU citizens have been told to stock up with at least 72 hours worth of food and water, medical supplies and survival gear. This is on top of some countries have already sent out booklets to their citizens on how to prepare and how to survive. And I think I said previously, France is by the summer are aiming to put out a 30-page booklet to each household in France on survival. It's supposed to be in the event of anything pandemic, weather-related, civil unrest, but predominantly I think it's geared towards war and invasion. Speaking of the EU, and UK military chiefs this week have been discussing blueprints for a peacekeeping force in Ukraine in the event of a peace treaty. That's if one actually ever appears. I think they haven't said who, but apart from Britain and France, I think there's a few other countries that have possibly said that they're committed to putting troops in Ukraine. There's a few others, like Poland, said that they won't because I think they're more concerned with their own borders. Speaking of Poland, Polish Prime Minister Donald Tusk has announced a decision to suspend the right to asylum for migrants Interestingly, the EU actually supported this. I say interestingly because normally they're a little bit more pro-migrant, but I think given over recent years the shift towards the right in terms of politics, and that being off the back of immense migration into the European Union, it could be possibly linked to that, so that they're not kind of paints them in a better light. The other one is quite possibly, if there is going to be a big global conflict, then there's, particularly in the Middle East, then there's going to probably be a big influx into Europe, or the attempt of a big influx into Europe from people in the Middle East trying to escape places like Gaza, Yemen, and quite possibly Iran. So, yeah, the other two things that popped up just as I was getting prepared for this is apparently there's been an attempt on Putin, an assassination attempt on Putin. One of the armoured limos have been reportedly blown up this week in an assassination attempt. Whether it was actually aimed at Putin or one of his generals, we'll probably never know. That's as much information as I've managed to find out. And that actually came from a Russian source as well. So if they're actually saying that, then there's probably a big element of truth in it. The other one is Norway have reactivated two of its biggest bunkers, military facility bunkers that was developed between World War One and the Cold War. Supposedly they've got around 3,000 of these dotted all around in the mountains and along the fjords. Some of these are deep, big, and very secret. There's a lot there's a few that we know about, but there's probably an awful lot we don't know about. But they're apparently reactivating them, getting them up to modern standards, ready for war. So, going into a few things, I think if the US decide to actually go and attack Iran directly, the knock-on consequences of that is Russia is partnered with Iran, because a lot of the Russian drones have come from Iran. It's believed that Russia has given not so much the recipe, but the instruction book to how to turn your enriched uranium into a nuclear bomb. That's probably why the US is going after him, or possibly going after him. If that kicks off in Iran, this is the build-up of planes is on top of a number of aircraft carriers, US aircraft carriers that are in the South Ocean Sea at the moment. I think it was a USS Henry. Apparently the Houthis had actually been firing missiles at it. They've not hit yet, but they've been firing missiles at that one. But if the US starts this campaign there, they're going to have a lot of resources and a lot of time restricted to that conflict. That could open the door for China to invade Taiwan, and it is sort of like the timing of it could be spot on actually for China, mainly because of the weather. Taiwan gets battered, their coastline gets absolutely battered by fierce waves. Now there's a bit of a lull starting now, and it lasts for about a month. They have another period later in the year where the weather tends to settle down. So this could be the best opportunity for Russia to invade Taiwan. How they do that would be difficult. Taiwan is quite well armed. The terrain is extremely mountainous. it would be an extremely difficult campaign. There's only a couple of, I've looked at the coastline of Taiwan, there is only a few beaches where you could actually land. And then you've got to get through dense growth and then mountainous terrain. It would be an absolute nightmare. It would drag on for a long time. So they would probably have to start with a bombing campaign to gain air supremacy first, because there's no way that you're just going to try and land and then invade, because your ships and everything are going to get taken out before you even get close. So there's that to contend with. It's not looking great. I mean, I think the fact that the EU have said to its citizens, stock up, get prepared. I mean, people like I know people that are in the prepping world, and they've been prepping for years, and they're well stocked, and they've got all the gear. Through doing the survival and bushcraft sort of video through over the last 8 years, I think 8-9 years now. In terms of gear, I've got the gear. I know how to use the gear. The only thing I really sort of like needed to do is and I have been, is kind of stocking up on supplies a little bit. I've come up with a new way of preserving some essential foods as well. I haven't personally come up with. I've just found a new way I've come across, and I'll show you in a video probably this week, later in this week, of what I've been doing there. So I am actively preparing. I used to have a kind of a bug out bag years ago, and then that bag got used for other things, and I've actively got a new bug out bag. I've got a modular bag, and that is currently getting stocked up with everything that I need. I've actually informed my other half to do the same with the rest of my family. It's the thing that you hope that you never actually need, but if you put it off and you need it, then you're screwed, or you're certainly at a disadvantage. My own personal opinion would be to follow what the EU are saying at the moment. Stock up on at least 72 hours worth of food and water. Have things like a radio that tunes into FM and AM. Ideally, you also want low range as well. So batteries, candles. I'll do a video. I'll go into all the different things I think that you would definitely need to stock up on, apart from just food. I'll do that in a future video. But yeah, with everything that's kicking off, I mean, the other thing was that the US Vice President, J.D. Vance, went to Greenland this week, which was very unwelcomed by the locals. And yeah, he went to the US space base that's there. It wasn't there very long, and he never even left, which kind of tells you a lot. Anyway, I don't want to drag this video out too long. I just kind of wanted to get these points across. That the situation isn't looking good. It is getting more dire almost by the day. So yeah, it is time to, if you haven't already, start getting prepared. That would be my advice. I mean, look, let's face it. At the best, nothing happens. Then you've just got 3 days worth of food, and then you've got a few bits of extra equipment like a torch. Most people have probably got a torch. They've got one on the phones. So at best, it's food that you're going to eat anyway. It's just that you want to have something in reserve, just in case. And at worst, you're going to need it. But you might need more. I'm looking at building up at the moment at least a month's worth, if not longer, which I'll go into a video. So I definitely would say at this point, if you haven't already, start making some preparations. Even if it's just when you go to the local supermarket, you just buy a few extra tins, an extra bag of rice, a few bits, some paracetamol, for instance, and then just pull them in a box, and just build up a little bit of a reserve for you and your family, your household. If you are planning on stockpiling seriously, one piece of advice is don't tell anybody, because if it hits the fan and you start telling everybody, kind of like me, but people that you know that know where you live, that you've got a huge amount of stockpile of food, then the people are going to come knocking at your door. So keep it quiet. Anyway, I hope you've had a good weekend. If the weather's nice, get out, but also start preparing. The situation does not look great. But anyway, be safe, and I will see you in the next video. Bye for now.